Hi and welcome along to our first show on the Don Robbie channel, looking at Formula One. This is the F1 pit stop, yeah? Because I love my Formula One, man. And I thought, doing this channel, we're gonna discuss Formula One. And I've got a couple of special guests here, sat on the chairs. I've got Matt and Ryan. Now, these guys, they've got a channel and it's called Off Circuit F1.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Which is on YouTube, which is all about Formula One.
If it ain't losing your hair, that's him. He's nipped into Italy to do pre-testing on his way to Turkey to get himself a hair transplant.
Aston Martin have rolled out something real special there, and I got to give them kudos.
The fuck is happening with the green on the back of that car?
Carlos Sainz, let's hope that you don't lose your hair, because you literally look like an egg, mate.
Founded the Williams team that we know today.
So, you know what? Fuck you, Matt. I'm going with Aston Martin.
The reason why I thought I'd get these guys in is that obviously the Formula One season is coming back.
Yep.
And there's new cars, there's new rules, there's new everything this season. And I'm like, I like my F1, I like watching it on TV, but I'm not going to claim to be any kind of expert on it.
Never
so let me get two guys who are equally not experts. No, I'm only joking. No, let me get two guys that run a channel where I like their channel because what they do is they discuss F1, but they discuss it so that somebody like me, who's quite new to it, who's still learning about it, can watch it and kind of actually understand it more.
100%.
So thanks for coming on.
No.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you guys on.
Thanks so much for having us. Why you would invite two know-nothing dickheads like us down, I have no idea. But we appreciate it. And actually, you're right. I guess for us, there's so many great Formula One podcasts already out there, but they get so into some of the technicals and the geekery, it switches us off, man. So we just want to have a normal conversation about F1, you know?
100%.
Now, I know that, you know, you're saying nobody knows you and stuff like that. I know we've seen you.
I'm bubbled already. That's shots
Made
fired.
in Chelsea and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Come on, don't give us to nobody.
You're right. They know him. Good-looking bastard that he is.
Tell us a bit about that first, before we get stuck into the Formula One. You still doing that?
No, so I left that probably 2 years ago now. So I first got into it really just via default. My missus at the time, now fiance, she was in the show right from day one. So we're talking 10 years, probably more than that now, 11, 12 years ago. I met this girl, Louise, off the show in a sort of personal training capacity, which is what I was doing at the time. Rolled the tape forward however many months, ended up on the show for 3 years. Listen, it was a really wild experience. I wouldn't say that it was all great. I'm thankful for the opportunity that it gave. Chances are I might not be sat here with you two lovely dudes if I wasn't on the show. I don't know.
Definitely not me, anyway. I might be here with him.
But yeah, as I say, being in this sort of TV reality world, it's a strange world to be in. It can be difficult. I think, like we were chatting before, unless you're willing to really sort of sell your soul to it and kind of be told, right, you are going to play this character in this storyline, and we'll kind of weave.
So basically, you're saying it's all made up.
It's definitely scripted reality.
In Chelsea?
Yeah.
Scripted reality.
It's not even in Chelsea, it's in Fulham. We all live in Fulham.
Mind you, Chelsea Football Club ain't even in Chelsea. They're in Fulham as well.
Yeah.
Who do you support?
Fulham is my adopted team, but my childhood team was Everton.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let me just say this, I don't know fuck all about football.
Well, that's all right, because we're talking about F1. Now, how do you two get together then? How do you...
Well, it's a good mate of mine, really, a mutual friend, but a mate of mine who has also managed to get out of Yorkshire and down to London. He was managing Louise and some of the early cast members back in the day. We were just joking about this outside, but it seemed to be that I'd be there as an extension of John. Ryan, you were saying you may be there at the beginning anyway, as an extension of the missus. At the beginning, because you're a big deal now.
You saved me there.
And I guess that was, we'd just lock eyes across the room. There was just a little moment there. That's how I felt anyway. The reality is we went to a little festival, V-Fest together, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
In fact, maybe I can send you some pictures of that, because I've got a picture of me with John on my shoulders, and you've scooped up some random girl from the crowd.
Hey, easy now.
Big made in Chelsea fan. They follow him everywhere. It's like Justin Bieber.
I know the picture you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
we had a little bit of a laugh and a joke about that, and nothing more. It was really F1 that kind of connected us.
100%, yeah.
Come on, tell us about... So F1, the season's coming back. I want you guys to break it down to me, right?
Come on.
Who are the Formula One teams? Give us a rundown of Formula One.
No, listen, we haven't planned this, but I think this is how we do it. This is your moment to shine here, pal. All right, Ryan. How many teams in Formula One?
10 teams.
Good lad. First hurdle. Well done. 10 teams. How many drivers?
20.
So how does that work out? How many drivers per team?
2 drivers per team.
Love that. How many races in a calendar year?
Yeah, well, this is a tricky one. Last year was 21 because of COVID.
17. Yeah.
17 this year is 23, I believe.
23. Yeah. Notching it up. How does it work then in terms of a winner in football? You can be like a Man U fan, you can be a McLaren fan. How does it work with like teams versus drivers? Who wins? Do Mercedes win or does Bottas win? Never.
Okay, so this is done on a point system, right? So you've got the Drivers' Championship as well as the Constructors' Championship. So if the driver wins, he gets 25 points. And if what does that mean for constructors in terms of points? Is that also 25?
Exactly. So if Hamilton wins the race, he gets his 25 points as Lewis Hamilton on that leaderboard, but then Mercedes get 25 points on theirs.
There you go.
And down we go with the 18 and so on. All right. You see, I wanted to just do that for a minute, just to show people he pretends he doesn't know, but he's got it.
I doubted myself.
And who are the teams this year? Who are the teams?
Oh, let's one at a time it. Yeah, you ready?
Okay.
Red Bull and Alpha Tauri.
Okay, you're going for...
Because it's easier for me.
Okay, Mercedes and Williams.
Ooh, nice, okay. Ferrari and Alfa Romeo.
Okay. Haas and McLaren. Not linked, but let's go for it.
Yeah, okay, nice, I like that. Aston Martin, formerly known as Force India.
Yes.
And I'm throwing over to you. And Racing Point. And I'm throwing over to you for the final one.
Alfa Romeo?
No, we've said them.
I know the final one.
Come on!
Go on, Dom!
I know the final. Williams.
No, you said it!
Oh, you said that already?
You're not good at this. Not good at this. No, it's, I'll give you a clue, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Ocon.
Alpine.
Alpine, some are calling it Alpine. I refuse, I'm from Yorkshire, it's Alpine. There's your 10.
How did you two guys get really into F1? Because I was privileged to go to an F1 event at Monza.
His favourite track. His favourite race of the
season.
season.
Friggin' track, and I'm actually so jealous when we get into it.
I'm telling you, right, I was blown away. I was a guest of Williams.
Oh, awesome.
I went, I was in the pits, I was like behind the scenes. I was even like, the car would come in and they'd change the tyres and it was...
They'd check with you. Is that all right, Robbie? Yeah?
He's good with that. He's the Don.
It was I mean, for someone who's been to, I've been to big football games and stuff like that, but this was right up there. It was an unbelievable experience.
Yeah. Were you aware at the time how much of a big deal Monza is as well?
No.
Like, you didn't just go to a race, man. You went to Monza, the fastest track.
Yes.
The most historic track. It's got it all going on.
And Monza, like people told me, that with Ferrari, obviously, it's an Italian team. And people said to me, the Italians are passionate about Ferrari.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh, yeah, all right. The team's from, they make the cars in Italy.
Yeah.
But when I went there, it was like a football match. And actually, Ferrari won, Leclerc won.
Yeah.
And the place went ballistic. It's like, this is like football. It was absolutely incredible. But, everything about Formula One, it's just like another world. I mean, the so-called motorhome that I was in was like some big three-story building. It was in the scale of it all.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand it, but it is an incredible event, isn't it?
Yeah, and mate, this is why they call it the circus, a bit of an insider term, but it's a travelling circus. People have to understand, 20 plus countries around the world, to operate that level of sport, you're turning up with hundreds of vehicles, lorries, motorcars, everything's got to travel and move. And they, as you said, they build this massive city to put on a little go-karting event around a track. For me, I think what's so entertaining about it is there's a few big moments throughout the year in sport. The Super Bowl is a fucking huge moment, right? But it's one event. That is the Super Bowl. Everything builds to that. Formula One, every damn race is a Super Bowl with a flyover of aeroplanes and, you name it all going on. It's mad.
Yeah, and there's more and more races now, isn't there? Like, a friend of mine was inviting me. I've never got to go, right? And this is how passionate I am about Arsenal Football Club, right? I turned down going to the Singapore Grand Prix, which is a nighttime one, isn't it, right?
Sweet as well.
Where I could have been, his company's got a bit right by the track. I turned that down because Arsenal were playing Newcastle. Right? So
disrespectful.
Big fixture, that one.
Do you know something? We need to know his friends. Can we get to meet your friends? We'll go.
Actually, you know what? That guy's a big Arsenal fan as well, but he works in Singapore. But the races are all around the world now. Now this season, is there any new venues, or is it the same type of venues? I mean, obviously with COVID times as well.
They've done an amazing job, actually, with the venue. So last year, they cancelled while they'd set up in Melbourne, which is usually the start of the season in March. They had to cancel that with COVID. They still managed to get 17 races away, but most of it was in Europe. This year, amazing news. They've pushed the big travels to the end of the season, but we're hitting 23 races. We're hitting still every continent but Africa, which that's got to come back at some point. But yeah, we're doing Mexico, we're doing Brazil, we're doing America. It's Look at that, we're going. It's everywhere.
How did you get into Formula One? What was the...
Great question. I remember nostalgically as a kid, I wasn't brought up a Formula One fan. My family aren't really into it. It's for the poshos like this guy, generally. But I remember being mesmerised by Formula One and snooker on the telly. Couldn't tell you anything about snooker to this day, but I do remember watching it. But for me, year after we got married, 2013, we're in 2014, we threw the mattress in the back of this shit old Peugeot that we had, and I took the missus driving around Europe, and I just said to her, listen, we won't plan too much. And in the back of my mind, I said, for our first anniversary, I want to go to Monaco, pack a dress, I'll pack a suit, and we're going to go to the Hotel de Paris and try and sort of get our way in. And long story, we go around and we're spending about €8 a night to sit on these campsites, and it's all, shit, he'd never do it. When we get to Monaco, we go to this Hotel de Paris, one of the most amazing hotels in the world, and I walk in my shorts, everything. They tried to not let me in. I said, no, I'm going to stay here. And I asked them how much for a room. They said, sir, do you want a city view or a sea view? Now, this hotel, for anyone who doesn't know, is the one next to the casino in Monte Carlo. The F1 racetrack comes around it. So already F1 culture's all around you.
Yeah, I've been like, not to the hotel, but I've been to Monaco.
There you go. So you get it.
With Arsenal. And yeah. Yeah, and so, I've seen they actually do a thing where they do a walk around the track.
Really? No way. So I mean, for me, I couldn't help but get drawn in, and eventually we get chatting, and they say, well, listen, it's 1,800 quid for the night for a city view, it's 1,900 for a sea view, and I said, you've got to sort me out, and they said, listen, sir, if you leave us alone, for 900 quid, you can have a room with an internal facing wall. Just fuck off. You can have it, right? So we take it, and they said, I'll throw you one in. They knew I was on the scrounge. They said, you can park your car outside the front, Bugatti, Ferrari. I said, I'll save myself the embarrassment. I had DIY curtains and a GB sticker on the back of it. I thought, I'm not doing it. So we did. We put the suit on that night. She put the dress on. We had dinner on the veranda, and we were soaking up Formula One. And I remember driving around the apex of the big famous hairpin corner there, in the van, and I'm going to the missus, look at me, kissing the apex. Something happened.
Got DRS on.
Exactly. DRS on the van. We're away. And something happened on that trip, and I came back from there, watched every race at the end of the season with the missus, and we watched every race since. And the more I found out about, some of the geekery and what was going on and the politics, the drama, for me, that was my moment. And I think a lot of Formula One fans out there have a moment, through this new Drive to Survive and Netflix and stuff. For me, that was it. And from 2014, haven't missed a race. Just really, really fell in love with it. Went to the Silverstone Grand Prix 2017. Hamilton was behind in the championship that year, and I don't know if people remember, they did a pop-up in London where they sent the cars up and down the mall. Yeah. Hamilton famously, out of the 20 drivers that should have been there, said, nah, fuck it, I need to stay in the zone, I'm not turning up. Got a load of shit for it, but he was losing in the championship. He turns up to Silverstone, comes from behind, beats Vettel, beats all the Ferraris, wins at Silverstone and goes on to win the championship that year, and I just thought, this is a sport, man. This is it. So,
what about you?
Come on.
Listen, I'm just my story's not quite as decorated as that.
No, it is.
No, I don't know. I'm much more of the new generation of F1 fans. I'd always flirted with the idea of the sport from, a very kind of like boundary level at home. I'd see it on the TV. Actually, my middle bro, I told you, my middle bro was somewhat interested, but at that time, I just didn't know what was going on. I literally knew nothing. And I was probably the person who was describing the sport as just a bunch of cars whizzing around the track. But then, I don't know what year it was probably 4 years ago now. I was on holiday in the Philippines, having a great time. At some stage on the holiday, I went man down with food poisoning. Found myself on Netflix, and this show, Drive to Survive, really popped off for me. And I think if you're talking about the moment when I was hooked on it, it was definitely because of that Netflix show. For me, that was just such a sexy, high energy, they showed me the parts of the sport I needed to, I was still left with a lot of questions unanswered, let me just say that. So I was definitely hooked on it. I had the passion. I was like, this is a sweet sport. How do I learn more about this? Because you guys are giving me the highlights. Cue Matt. So Matt is kind of my... and that's kind of how we bonded more so from the sport, really. I was watching this Netflix series. I then sort of rolled into one of the seasons, probably the 2019, where you were out in Monza. And I was watching that at home, trying to convince myself that I was an F1 fan. I was like, come on. And Louise, my missus, would ask me questions, and I'd be like, I don't fucking know, but just shut. But
to this day, I didn't get any credit.
Under the sort of like cushions, I'd be texting Matt like, what does a fucking DRS zone mean? How many do they get? I didn't know anything. So Matt, to be fair to him, he's given me the ammunition to hold my own a little bit more.
All right. Now, let me come at you from the critic's point of view.
Can I say beforehand, because this is a moment, and I'm getting signalled as well, we've brought you a gift. Because you didn't have to have us on. You didn't have to have us on and do this. You don't know what you've let yourself in for
That's
now,
all right.
really.
Nobody gives me gifts.
So listen,
What's this?
I feel so strongly about this. And this is not, by the way, one of these paid ads that people come through and do. This is the best fucking bourbon in the world, made by a tiny little family-run distillery called Willett in Kentucky. It's not easy to get hold of. The bottle's beautiful. Can we share a little glass now, though?
Why not? Why not?
Come on. Are you a whiskey fan? You like a whiskey, yeah?
I like a whiskey, I do.
Do you like a bourbon?
He's the Don.
Listen, you know what? I don't know. Any other guests that's coming on the show, you see, they have now set... I like this, right? They have set a standard.
You're bringing the guy from Chelsea, you see.
I get grief for not providing any drinks. No, that's brilliant, man. Thank you very much.
No,
I appreciate that.
Boom.
Let me sort the Don out.
Come on.
There you go,
Thank you.
It should be sweet, it should be caramelly, it should be super smooth. And I'll be honest with you, I've been trying to get this guy to drink this. Cheers.
Cheers.
Come on.
Cheers, big guy.
I've been trying to get him to drink it for ages, but I needed to wait for a moment, you know?
Oh, that is smooth. That is really good.
Yeah.
This for me, if I could have one drink on a desert island, I'm taking this. This is it.
I would take Ribena.
What's wrong with you? Nah, good.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. Right.
Come on.
Where was I saying? Criticism
of
F1. Same old people win it. It's not a real test. If you've got the best car, put Robbie in put Robbie in Mercedes, he'd win the F1 title.
Yeah.
He would.
Right?
He would.
It's a procession. It's just a load of money thrown at it. How do you answer that?
Let me get at you.
Those are common things that are
Totally.
said about it.
I feel like we've done something nice now, yeah? So we've been polite, so I can be less polite now. You fucking would not win a race in a Mercedes car. And let me tell you for why.
I wouldn't even fit in a Mercedes car.
I'm struggling as well, actually. I can't get in the fucker. Let me tell you for why. Valtteri Bottas.
Fucking hell, Matt.
And he loves him, but let me just tell you this. That fucker has been driving that car that's supposedly the only reason why Hamilton's able to dominate. He's doing nothing with it. So I think that it's too surface level to just say the car goes out and win it. Back in the day,
hold on a minute. Last season,
come on,
Russell
exactly.
Williams, who I met, as I said, I was a guest of Williams, a really nice guy, right? He had one race where he drove. He stood in for Hamilton when Hamilton had COVID.
Yeah.
And he drove.
Yeah.
And he nearly won the race, didn't he?
Yeah, and if it wasn't for...
And all season, he's been coming literally last everything.
Correct.
In a worse car.
So don't get me wrong, it has to be the perfect balance. Enzo Ferrari once put a number on it. He said, the guy who founded Ferrari back in the 50s or 60s, when asked the question, is it the driver or is it the car that makes the difference? And he said, both is important, but I believe it's 60-40 the car. Others would tell you they believe it's 60-40 the driver. I think I sit there. I don't think it is 50-50. I think it's 60-40 driver skill. But let me just tell you this. That day that you're talking about with George Russell was my favourite moment of last season. And it again just showed me how bollockless Bottas is. The man has driven that car for years. And out comes your boy from the back of the grid in his Williams, not scoring any points for years on end. They throw him in the car and he outdrives him and he made him look foolish in that car. And he only didn't win the race because not once but twice Mercedes made these crazy errors. Maybe that's a conspiracy out there, anyone who's with me. Whereas you maybe, what's your thoughts with it? What's your feeling with, because you're a Bottas fan, aren't you?
You've picked probably the worst example of what he can do on a race day.
Trying to get you. I want him to say on camera, you're right, Bottas is shit.
You've hamstringed me right from the get-go. No, but I will say that That was a great example of how, you know, this is maybe, like, how do you respond to someone who says, like, because my missus would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Surely it's just the car. Like, obviously, if you start at the front of the grid in a Mercedes, you're going to win. All these questions, I'm like, it's kind of, I do see where you're coming from.
Totally, but on that, I think you've got to decide in that moment there, is George Russell just this unbelievably gifted driver who's going to come through and do bits in Formula One, or has he just been given the keys to a great car and the car's done all the work? And for me, I'm of the first statement there. I think George Russell is the future of the sport. We know he's signed to Toto Wolff's sort of little academy. I think we're going to see him full-time in Mercedes if Hamilton retires.
Okay, another thing I want to ask you, right?
Come on.
And another question gets thrown at on the negativity side. Apart from Hamilton, as far as I can see, every other driver who drives in that is just like their dad, or they got back at him who's got millions and millions of pounds.
Totally.
What was that? I forgot his name. What was the Canadian guy?
Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll, right? So Lance Stroll, for instance, right?
He's prodding us early. He's getting these reactions
Listen, I'm asking the questions that I know people might ask. So Lance Stroll, would he be driving that car if his dad weren't a multi-billionaire who can help to finance the team?
He's looking at me, he's ready. Yeah, listen, you are right. The majority of these dickheads, the majority of these dickheads come from his background, right? No, he hates it. He does, he hates it. The truth is, you're right, there are what we call paid drivers. It boils my blood. Last year, we saw a prime example with your boy you mentioned there, Lance Stroll. His dad's come through and not just bringing money, he's bought the friggin' team, right? His teammate was Sergio Perez. He'd outdriven him, 11-3 in qualifying last year. So you want to talk about who's doing better in a car, he's dicked all over him that year. And when it came to the end of the season, they were bringing in Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion. You can't knock him for wanting to bring in somebody of that calibre. Who are you going to bump? You're going to bump the loser, or you're going to bump the guy who's actually been driving out of his skin. The mad thing is, when they announced that they were dropping him, Perez finished 4th in the Drivers' Championship out of, it was 21 last year because of COVID. He missed 2 races. So out of a 17 calendar season, he races in only 15 of them, and yet comes 4th overall out of 21 drivers, and yet Stroll kept his seat. It's a problem we've got with Formula One. It's something I'm pissed about.
Because you want to see guys like, I think the Lewis Hamilton story is very underrated.
Mate.
Because, you know, for him to come from Stevenage, not come from that background, you know, and to achieve what he's achieved has been absolutely phenomenal, hasn't it?
That was a really interesting point that Matt was telling me about the other day. Like, Lewis Hamilton now is so much bigger than the sport. Like the stuff that he's doing on the boundary of, you know, bringing different kind of audiences and shining a light on a sport. Like, what he's doing is incredible.
But will we see another Lewis Hamilton type person? Because that's the other thing I look on. I think, yeah, we got Lewis Hamilton, and that's great, incredible.
Yeah.
It's a guy I'd love to meet.
Oh, me too.
Get him on the show.
Yeah, come on,
Lewis.
Come on, right? Come on, please.
But where's the next one? Where's the next Lewis Hamilton?
You said no there.
Most of the other guys I see coming in.
I said no instinctively because I think that he is superstar quality. Everything about him is superstar. I mean, when he shows up on qualifying on a Friday, everyone notices. Just he pops up and everyone notices. There's something about, he's got an aura around him. I don't know if any other driver has that level of superstar quality.
I'd go as far as saying this one about Lewis, yeah. The thing that you almost have to separate from him, and it's an interesting chat to have actually, Lewis Hamilton for me is bigger than his field. He's bigger than Formula One, yeah? And if you talk about other athletes like that, I think Phil Taylor's bigger than darts, you know, but I don't think that, I think Beckham's bigger than football.
One to go for.
No, but I think Beckham's bigger than football.
They transcend, they transcend.
Totally, whereas, no disrespect, but Aubameyang's not bigger than football. He's a fucking Arsenal footballer, he's a bit of a legend. You know, George Russell, Sebastian Vettel, they're all great names in the sport. Hamilton is bigger than F1. So to your point, will there be another one? I don't know about that. But the thing I think the limelight focuses on with Lewis Hamilton is he is the first and only black Formula One driver ever. And you go, okay, that's pretty unbelievable. For me, I go, and on top of that, he's the only one from a working class background, since maybe the 50s anyway. So you're right, for me, there's an image crisis. We've got to know some people at Gfinity who run the esports and e-gaming world. They were behind all of the virtual Grand Prix stuff last year. And he said something incredible to me about it. He basically said, The problem with Formula One is we know now it costs about 200 grand a year to do go-karting as a junior to have any form of chance to get in scouting.
200 grand?
That is some made in
And
Chelsea
go-kart.
fucking money.
Yeah.
200 grand a year, because you've got to travel around and fund yourself and find sponsorship and do that. And obviously a Formula One team needs hundreds of millions of dollars a year to operate. So instinctively in itself, the sport is just a money magnet, and you need, wankers like Marzipan to come through with his dad to pay for his seat in over just pure talent. What's incredible about Hamilton is his dad worked several jobs, his mum was working multiple jobs, they remortgaged the house, they went into crazy debt, probably to breaking point, to get him through, and his sheer driver skill is what's got him to a point where he got notice, signed and brought through, and now he is what he is. So for me, that is where the Gfinity gaming thing come in. They've said, football, if you're great at FIFA, that does not translate on a football pitch. You can be the world champion FIFA player on a PlayStation. Doesn't mean you can get on a pitch and start running rings around people. But with Formula One and race driving, these simulators are so good and so accurate that actually, other than the G-force, they feel like actually you're really close to maybe being able to cut it as a driver. And what they're saying now is parents with not a lot of money can buy a PlayStation and a simulator for £1,000 one Christmas, and that kid has got a chance at breaking into Formula One and going through. So
that's amazing. Well, let's talk about the new season ahead. Right?
Yep.
Because I'm looking forward to it. As I said, my memories are going to Monza, being in the pits with Williams, being in the pits with, with Mercedes. I went to their pit. It was unbelievable. Being in the pits, I saw Red Bull in action. I was just blown away by how many tyres they use in a race and stuff like that, right? It's unbelievable. There's so many nuances to it. But it's a new season ahead. Now, I'd like to know who are the favourites for this season. We know Hamilton will be up there, obviously, but who are the ones to watch? And also, who do you think is going to win it? Great. Is it going to be, what are these rule changes as well? I know there's been a few rule changes. I mean, talk to us about the various teams that
I think
you think are going to be, even if they don't win it, they're going to stand out this season. Right? Talk to us about that.
Come on.
I think I'll leave the rule changes stuff to the big guy because he knows more of the intricate detail. But and we've spoken about this on previous episodes on off circuit. For me, obviously Mercedes, they're packing some heat with Hamilton, Bottas, even though he hates him. I still think and this goes back to the sort of the role that he's playing within the dynamic of the team. He is definitely playing a role, and I think it's a crucial role. I think he's making Hamilton look potentially better than he is, but that's another conversation. Based on what we've seen in pre-testing in Bahrain, it's not looking great for Mercedes, but if we just park that for 1 second, I really think that the duo of Perez and Verstappen at Red Bull, I think this season, if there's a team, to answer your question, if there's a team that I think could shock things and maybe nudge Mercedes off the top of the podium, I think it would be Red Bull. I think that looks seriously...
What about Ferrari this season? I mean, they had a bad season last year, didn't they? But
one of the worst on record for them. Yeah, Ferrari have got an issue. Something went down in the 2019 season where they were seen to be using an illegal component which made them faster. The FIA stamped straight down on them and said, you need to strip this back. You can't use that component. What it means, these teams spend sometimes a year or 2 years developing an engine and developing a car to make it fast. If you then say, take that out, they're years behind everybody else in development. So it's taking them time to catch up. From what we've heard, Ferrari finished 6th out of 10 last year. I'd be amazed if they got higher than 4th this year. But next year, everything's back on the table and we could see a Ferrari coming back. But nah, I'd forget them this year.
Okay, tell me about some of the other standout teams then. Who else do we need to watch for?
I mean, we're both, so first and foremost, we both connect over Mercedes, right? We just admire them from top to bottom, and anybody who says that they don't is lying, right? The way that they operate a team and how they've had this period of dominance, amazing. So when we've separated that and said, okay, aside from Merc, who do you like? I mean, for me, we did a deep dive episode on Williams as a team. And I was passionate about that because if there's any of you out there that are maybe new to Formula One, you're looking at Williams and going, well, they don't score any points. The last, back of the grid, they're shit. Why would you waste time talking about them? Truth is, Williams in the 90s were the greatest team of all time.
Yeah.
They were bigger than Ferrari.
Williams.
Yeah, they were absolutely unbelievable at what they used to do. And they do not stay down for long. They won 17 titles. They won 9 titles in the first 17 years. They're unbelievable. I think we're going to see Williams coming back.
They have been taken over now, haven't they, as well?
Yeah, they have. Yeah. So big American money, nearly $200 million been invested in there. The Americans, we know, are making a play, to try and get Formula One a little bit over in that newer market. For me, I like the look of the new car, and I'm nicknaming it the Blue Tiger. I think it's going to be decent this year. So for me, that's the team I'm going to have my eye on. I love George Russell and everything about him. The only thing I would say is he's partnered alongside Nicholas Latifi. I'm not into Latifi at all. I think he is the guy doing what I'm doing before a race, which is going to a McDonald's drive-thru, slamming his McNuggets, turning up and going, well, I'm getting paid anyway, cruising along, challenging nobody. I mean, he got beat 17-0 by his teammate last year in the same car. If that ain't telling you that what's he doing?
Has he retained the drive then?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think the only thing I can think of is they've not been in a position to bring somebody through yet. He's definitely got a little bit of funding there, but not as bad as, don't mention the guy at Haas, but certainly Lance Stroll and the others. That is a big money talk.
So tell us about the top teams then. Tell us, for everybody who's watching now, right? They might want a team to follow. Tell us about the top teams.
You want this guy on this because you've pulled somebody out of the bag here that actually I'm excited for this year.
Verstappen?
Nah.
Danny Rick. They came third last year, right?
Yeah.
They finished third, yeah.
Yeah.
The top two teams for a while now, I think, has been Red Bull and Mercedes, right?
Yeah, years.
And there's been a bit of a scrap for the third place between
everybody else, to be honest. Ferrari, McLaren, Force India.
Okay, yeah.
They've
Force
all
India,
been there. Yeah, Renault.
Okay, yeah. So now McLaren have got a pretty sexy partnership going on. They've got this Danny Ricciardo, who's known as like the funny guy.
Australian, isn't he?
Yeah.
Legend.
And they've got Lando Norris, who I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
I like Lando Norris.
Really?
I do. Go on, tell him what you think of Lando Norris.
No, I just if we're talking about the sort of like the kids at home on their consoles trying to suggest that they're I don't know. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this.
He called him a nerdy little dork on camera a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, what? That young British racing driver?
Well, I see
Lando Norris, man.
He reminds me of my future brother-in-law. He reminds me of Sam Thompson. If you watch him, he's the high-energy little annoying fucker around the grid who's like slapping people in the balls, like knocking their hats off, and I'm like, who let you in?
We need people like that in.
Yeah, apparently he's the legend on Twitch. Is it the gaming thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and he's doing bits for a new generation, and he's a young British driver, a British team, you know.
I need to get my head around it because he is very, very popular, and he's British, so I need to start getting on board with Lando Norris.
Got to support the Brits, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
First race of Bahrain.
Yeah.
Right? Whose favourite's that?
It does depend who you ask. For me, I think you can't write off Mercedes. Every single year, they turn up in testing, and their poker face is unbelievable, and they have a really bad test. Oh, we really struggle, guys. And then they turn up on race weekend, first, one of the season, and they absolutely piss all over everybody, and they go, oh, well done, guys, you've done it again. I think that's what they're up to, and for me, it's Hamilton pole, Hamilton win, and he's going to keep dominating, because until next year's big rule changes, that Mercedes car is a better car. But
I will go against you and say that Verstappen will win first race for Red Bull.
And it's not that it won't happen.
I like Verstappen as well. I mean, I was going to ask you villains and heroes in Formula One, right?
Oh, nice. All right.
Who are your villains? I always look at Verstappen. He's a bit of a villain. He's a bit of a villain. A bit naughty out there. You know? I mean, he sort of reminds me of like a Schumacher back in the day, that he would take you out and win a race.
Absolutely heartless bastard. Drives with his elbows out the whole time. And for me, as a personality, as a person, he's got the whole Dutch thing going on. I don't really get behind him as that. For me, I'm a Hamilton camp, and that's it.
Yeah.
But what he brings to a race Sunday, Formula One would
he's
be
the serious
shit without
contender,
him.
though, isn't he?
Big time.
He's the guy that I reckon Hamilton's like, hey, you know what?
And how ironic that not his teammate who's in the same car as Hamilton. Not Bottas. Everyone's afraid of Max in an inferior car. You watch this, and should we mention then, I don't know if you did see, Hamilton took a long time signing his contract this year. He only actually signed it about a month ago. Rumour has it, what was going on there, he wrote into his contract, I'll come for you, but I have a clause that says you cannot pick Max Verstappen as my teammate at Mercedes. Ooh. And they had to back and forward over that. And in the end, they've agreed it. And that is in there, that until 23, Max Verstappen cannot be signed to Mercedes. Why would he do that? In my opinion, Toto has already had the chat. I think they're getting ready for Max to be the new Lewis at Mercedes.
Wow. So your hero is obviously Bottas.
Yeah, got his poster on his bedroom wall, you know.
What's it about Bottas is a bit dry, and he's like, what?
Yeah, it's fair.
You're like the underdog, isn't it?
No, yeah, maybe, yeah.
It's because he got his arse out on the Netflix show, isn't it? That's all it is, yeah.
He's got, look how, you know, for someone who's been on TV like you know, he's got no charisma. He's got no, I'm being real here now. I'm not dissing him. He's obviously, listen, for him to get that drive, he's got to be incredible at what he does, but he has no charisma. He's not as good as Hamilton. Why do you love him so much?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I don't know. When I look at Bottas, I see someone that is like really familiar to me. It might even be like, I don't know, a family member or something, but I don't know. I just feel like...
Is it the military thing? You talk about the team playing thing. Is it the fact that he just turns up, does his job, there's no emotion to it? If Mercedes want a 1-2, Bottas will give you the 2. If Hamilton falls back, 9 times out of 10, Bottas does come through and win the race eventually. So I think there's something of that going on with you. When you talk to me, it's his team player spirit, isn't it?
I almost feel protective over Bottas because from my experience of TV and also professional sport, which is a little bit of professional sport in the background, nice guys don't really do that well. And I look at Bottas and I think, you are the nice guy of the team. Lewis Hamilton, you might be a legend. I might think that you're a superstar, but I don't know if you're a nice guy. I think Bottas is a genuinely decent bloke. And I look at the stuff he does outside of the racing, and he's a very humble, down-to-earth bloke. He likes to be in the mountains with his missus, just cycling about. And I'm thinking,
nice guys don't win it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Especially, look at Schumacher back in the day.
No, but can we say haven't won it as well? Not just don't. It's been in 10 years nearly.
I agree with what you're saying. But I still warm to him. I'm thinking...
And Senna. You know, these guys weren't nice, man. You know what I mean? They'll drive you off the track.
Fine. Exactly.
I like those guys, man. I like those guys.
Killer edge.
Where are you going? No.
yeah, exactly right.
Fine, team Verstappen. Fuck it.
Come on.
Guys, you know what we're going to do, right?
Come on.
We're going to, first of all, I'm going to get your predictions for who you think is going to win this season's Formula One. Right?
Come on.
Which driver, which team.
Okay.
Then, on that table there, we've got a bowl there. We're going to pick out, all the teams, we're going to pick out a team each, right? And that team is who we're going to follow for the season.
All right, nice. I like this.
Yeah?
World Cup style.
Yeah. World Cup style. So first of all, let's start with you. Who's going to win? Which car? Which driver? Why?
I'm actually sorry in advance for this answer, because for me, Lewis Mercedes is going to get the 8th title and become the statistical greatest of all time. I just think that's going to happen. I'd love to sit here and tell you I think Danny Rick's going to sneak it in a McLaren, or George Russell's going to do madness with Williams. It's going to be Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes. No doubt. I'll put money on it.
Hard to not agree with that, as much as I want to contest you. I think there's a lot of drivers out there who are going to make it hard for him. And I said Verstappen at Red Bull is going to be a real challenger. I think Danny Rick at McLaren, I think that he's really hedged his bets, and he said if there is a time and a team where it could happen, it could be this season at McLaren. So Danny Rick and Verstappen, I think, will make it hard for him. At least I want them to.
Not Bottas then, yeah?
Fuck you, Matt.
What about you, though? I mean, have you got any thoughts? What are you thinking?
Listen, I love Hamilton.
Yeah.
Absolutely love him. Love his story. Love what he's done. You know, love what he does
not
off the. You know, I think. You know, I don't think he gets the respect he deserves.
I agree.
Right,
100%.
so love him. I think he's going to win it.
Yeah, great.
But I think this season he's going to get pushed all the way by Verstappen. Verstappen is going to push. He's not going to be like last year or the year before. He's going to get pushed. It's going to be close.
Good.
And so that's what I think.
You know something? Can't we just, let's let him have it this year, and then after that, I'm in full agreement. Let's have a reset, new rules next year, someone different. But I just think let's let him get that title that I think he deserves, greatest of all time statistically, and then we'll move into another one.
Right, now we're going to pick a team. If you can pass that ball there, right? Actually, you guys go first. So if you
here we go.
Pass it over. You pick a team each. Don't reveal it yet.
Not Haas. Not Haas.
Don't reveal it
Anyone but Haas.
Please be
I won't look either.
Please be Haas.
Right, don't reveal it yet.
I don't know how I get behind Haas.
You take yours. Don't reveal it yet.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to take mine. Right. Okay. Right. I'll reveal mine first.
Come on.
Then we'll go to you guys and...
Haas. Have you got Haas?
Haas! Haas!
There's some things you need to know about Haas, Robbie, just from the get-go. They're driven by a sex pest, funded by a sex pest dad. A lot of Russian involvement going on in this American team. Good luck supporting those motherfuckers. I think they're last this year.
Right, what you got?
AlphaTauri.
Oh, my guys.
Interesting.
Red Bull's younger sister team looks strong, and as I've already said, Yuki Tsunoda looks really exciting. We know Pierre Gasly can do bits. I think you're onto a winner there.
You know, we need to touch on that in the programme just before I come to you. This younger sister team thing, that's another thing.
Yeah.
So you have a team, they've got the same engine, the same setup, everything.
Yeah.
Now, but they ain't never going to win, are they? Because basically, if they're challenging the bigger brother, they're going to send them a message saying, yeah, can you turn that engine down a bit? That's true, isn't it?
I think what it is, is when you talk about this level
Don't
of
sugarcoat
sport,
it.
I am going to sugarcoat it. At this level, in terms of development, you can't just take some kid out of Formula 2, put him next to Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes and go, good luck. Mercedes need to nurture and give somebody like George Russell time to learn about Formula 1 because it's so elite, it's so demanding, way more than Formula 2 and any of the other racing divisions there. So Mercedes need Williams and they need a few other places where they can just pop a little driver and go on, just get out there, learn the ins and outs of racing before you come through. AlphaTauri are that for Red Bull, Haas are that for Ferrari. I think that's just smart from a strategy. Otherwise, we're not going to see the young guns coming through.
Okay.
That's all it is for me.
Explain that well. Your team.
I'm happy now.
If you draw Mercedes, this ain't fair. Something's gone wrong.
Oh, actually, this is great. Did you rig this? These were the only 3 teams in it. Alpine.
Nice.
Alpine, who are they?
So
Renault
Alpine, formerly known as Renault. Fernando Alonso is back out of retirement driving for Alpine this year. They look good. All new car. It's the French colours of blue, white and red. I think that's going to be decent. I'll back that for a year.
I believe I've got Haas. I'm drawing another one, sorry.
Yeah, fair. Although you did say no to Mick Schumacher.
Alfa Romeo.
That's
You know what, I can't cheat. I've got to stick with Haas.
Well, and you know what, you've got
Haas is
Schumacher's son there, and Mick Schumacher. It's a shame that Marzipan is taking the spotlight off what is an exciting return to seeing a Schumacher in Formula 1
I'm
again.
backing Schumacher, right? Schumacher, that I'm backing, right? But listen, guys, you know what? It's been absolutely brilliant having you guys on. Your knowledge, the fun around it. I really do, advise everybody to go and check out their channel, Off Circuit F1, on YouTube. Subscribe to it. You can follow the Formula 1 season with these guys. It's all about, the way they break it down, the fun way in which they do it. Trust me, go and follow them. And we're gonna, if you guys don't mind, I'd love to get you guys back on throughout the season.
Love to.
Right, so get little updates and that and find out. Let's see how Haas is getting on.
And listen, we need to go to a race together. I was going to say at this point,
Definitely.
we'll invite you to a race, but maybe you need to invite us to a race by the sounds of it.
I have to speak to my connect.
Yeah.
But we definitely got to go to a race together. Definitely got to go
100%.
to. Do you think we'll be back at, because again, with the whole COVID thing and that, all these races are going to be behind closed doors. And I used to think to myself, well, you just sat there and the cars was going, But going to a
And then
race,
you
I
went,
realised that, wow, it's a great event to go to. So do you think fans will get back in?
I think they will. I think it's dependent on countries. We're not until mid-July here in the UK for the British Grand Prix. I mean, if we're going to believe anything about what Boris and the guys are saying, then at end of June we should be...
We could be back in at that.
Yeah, so I think if you see yourself making it to an Arsenal game before the season's out, then we'll definitely see fans at Silverstone this year.
Okay, well listen guys, thank you very much for having you both on.
Thank you for
Matt
having
and
us.
Ryan, they've been brilliant today. Thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe here to Don Robbie's channel. Don't forget to subscribe to Off Circuit F1. And also, follow this, right? It's going to be a really entertaining season. I love my Formula 1. And these guys have just got me even more excited for the season ahead. Who's going to win it? Is it going to be another Hamilton win? Is Verstappen going to be that guy to take away his crown? Could Bottas? Could Bottas do the business? We're going to find out this season.